It's finally here. Happy opening day to all those who celebrate. Whoever makes opening day a holiday will get my support in November. We spent all this time talking about what could happen for the Guardians. Today, we're going to talk about what we think is actually going to happen. Just don't make us revisit these on September 28th, please.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show today. I was typing for cat-proof headphones over here. I hope you are all having a good day, as this pair is also succumbing to the terrible cat menace that is my basement. I am Jeff Ellis, host of Locked On Guardians. I have been since its inception. Before that, as a lead draft and prospect analyst at Scout 24/7. And before that, I wrote at every Cleveland sports blog imaginable, mostly about prospects and statistics, but my main one was at Indians Baseball Insider, which I was only ever there when it was Indians Baseball or Indians Prospect Insider.
My name's Justin Letta. I was also at Indians Baseball Insider and Guardians Baseball Insider, not the same time as Jeff. I was the managing editor there from 2018 to 2022. However, I've also done freelance work covering the Guardians in minor league system going back to 2007. Currently for the Lorain Morning Journal, the News Herald up in Cleveland, which if you buy a copy or subscribe online to one of those two papers, you can see some of my season preview columns that just came out today and will be in print and online Thursday. So subscribe to your local news outlet. That matters. So that's what I've been doing. That's where I've been. Yeah, definitely matters. Writing about baseball is cool, but there are things they definitely do that are much better. All right. We said today was going to be our 2024 season prediction show. I've got a number of, I hope, our fun questions to go over for the year. We'll see if we get these things right. And as I said, whatever we say today, if we are wrong on September 28th, please don't let us know. We'll just pretend like it didn't happen, because as much time as we spend talking about this team and talking about baseball, we really don't know anything. We're just guessing. We're just making educated guesses like everybody else. And it is definitely not gambling advice. Let's put that first. We are not giving you any gambling advice. We are just kind of throwing
with me, it's not guessing or gambling, because it's the truth. No, I'm kidding.
That's right.
I'm gonna get
it's the truth.
If I can
negative
if I can
or positive,
if I can bat 300, I'll consider myself lucky. So far, my
look
for cat headphones is just leading to a lot of cat-proof headphones with cat ears, and I'm not going to sit here on this show at cat ear headphones. So yeah, let's get into these numbers instead. Let's
start with the fun one, because this will probably be the thing on most people's mind as we are at opening day, and then we have the home opener at the time of year where extensions get announced, especially for the Guardians. Do we think there's going to be any extensions this year? And if so, Jeff, who?
I don't. Because
boring.
Everything with them this year, it's like, I was reading Zach's piece today. As always, you always want to check out Zach, but it's like, we're worried about our TV money, so we can't spend. Like, they use that as an excuse, and then the minute it was realized that, we're going to get just about the same amount of TV money, and so it's like, we want to see the young guys. Listen, I'm glad we're going to see the young guys. I like this idea of flexibility. Multiple people in our comments, some of our everydayers have talked about it. I think it's a good idea to, see what we have, right? Like, but also seeing what we have while not being afraid to pull the switch quickly. It's like, we don't need another year of someone like Owen Miller getting 500 plate appearances because he had a good month and then spent the rest of the year on a slow decline. And we're ignoring the fact that if you pull out one good month, he wasn't good. Like, we don't need that, but we need to give opportunities so there isn't another Nolan Jones, another Will Benson occurring. So I do like that idea, but it does feel a little bit like a cop-out to go, well, we can't spend because of TV money. And it's like, well, we want to see what our young guys are doing. I mean, they should spend for extensions because they didn't spend, and now they don't really have an excuse anymore. There should be extensions. I used to be the person who was so positive with the front office, and I believe in this front office 100%. I was very positive with ownership. I don't trust ownership. I feel like ownership is definitely in a saving money state before they fully sell this team off.
Still a couple of years away. I would be obviously the hopeful one would be Tanner Bybee. To me, I would love to see a Bo Naylor extension early on. We just saw Will Smith get a 10-year deal. He and the Dodgers are hitched for 10 years. No reference there, Jeff. Hitched.
No,
10 years.
I mean, I don't know what you're talking about.
Missed my tweet there.
No,
I'll say, I don't know. I thought the most likely one would be Stephen Kwan, because he is the one piece of stability in that outfield right now. And I think
after what happened last year with when they approached him, I think he is.
I know I have doubts now, especially because they got burned by extending Miles Straw,
a fringe type.
Yeah, when you're betting on, defense and a guy with low exit velocities, I think it's hard. Yeah. But I think he is probably the most. If there's going to be one, to me, he's the most likely, because they want to get some stability in the outfield on cost control in the outfield. But the thing is, Stephen Kwan's not going to really earn a lot in arbitration. He's not a home run hitter, so I also don't think they have to worry about that. So, yeah, unfortunately, I'll be boring and say if it's not Tanner Bybee, it's going to be nobody. I wish it was.
And there's, I was talking with you before the show about reading into some other data. There's some stuff that shows like that Kwan was just, it's important for him to be less passive. Maybe there can be more. But when you look at the low hard hit percentage, the high degree of passivity, like he is what he is. He's an 8th, 9th hitter on a good team. And that's not a guy you give an extension to. Now, I know there'll be people talking about Michael Brantley, but he had a little bit more going for him. No one expected the breakout he had, but there's a little bit more.
Correct. All right. Time for the fun, not so fun numbers. Last year, the 15th, I'm sorry, I have 700, why am I at 728? The Milwaukee Brewers, this is what I was at. The Milwaukee Brewers scored 728 runs a year ago. So that was the lowest runs total by a playoff team in 2023. So let's assume that you need to score at least 728 runs to make the playoffs, because the Brewers also had a good pitching staff last year too. Will the Guardians score more than 728 runs this year, Jeff? Last year, 662. So that would be
38. 66? Right?
Yeah, it's over 60 more runs. Can they score 60 more runs in that range?
Can I talk for a moment that the Florida Marlins had 666 runs scored last year? I just want to point that out.
Don't like that.
Fun fandom.
Don't like that.
Little fun.
Which was also more than the Guardians.
Yes, 4 more than the Guardians. But Cleveland was...
Hey, the Guardians scored 1 more run than the Tigers last year somehow.
Yeah, and then at the bottom was Oakland, who actually has, some interesting players. I was also texting you about Ryan Noda today. But to get back to this team... Yeah. Yes, I think they can. And the reason I say this is a lot of people complain like, oh, they didn't get better. They did. It's a full season of Bo Naylor. It's, you're not running Miles Straw out there, who's one of the worst offensive players in baseball the last 2 years. Will Brennan's either going to adapt or he's not going to be here. Like his data with his pitch selectivity was terrible a year ago. Will Brennan and Miles Straw were both 2/3 of as bad of an outfield as you can get in terms of offensive performance. So move on from them. Mike Zunino had to retire because no one wanted to try him after his time here. You just look at what they've moved off of and what they're doing. And, Ahmed Rosario was good the previous few years, but he's a slow starter and he was terrible almost all of last year. So you're also just about anyone's an upgraded short. So there's a lot of reasons why this team can get to more runs. It is a relatively big jump. But we also think at some point, like Manzardo is going to step in, and some of these young hitters have to pan out. Like it can't always keep failing. I don't know. Maybe I'm being a Pollyanna here, where I'm like, eventually some of these hitters are going to work, but and work while they're here, not work.
The law of averages do not take into account hard hit rate. Okay, that's not how that works.
The Guardians spent too much time. And the weird thing is, I know they valued max exit velocities in guys. They just, for some reason. I don't know. That's a story for another day.
66 more runs the Guardians have to score. I am going to say they will score more than 66 more runs this year. I think by virtue of a lot of different things, which we're going to talk about today, most of what you already covered. Very quickly, too, we got to move on to more offense. We got to move on to some pitching and some other fun stuff. Let's just start here, just real quickly. Over under 100 WRC plus, because the bar is low. We are just asking, can the Guardians be a league average offense at 100 WRC plus, where 100 is league average? And
No.
oddly enough, the Red Sox were 19th at 99 or 16th last year at 99. So the top 15 teams last year all had offensively, I should say, all at 100 or better. So are they going to be a league average offense?
No, there's still enough issues in there, and you're expecting them to go from a 92 to 100. I think they're going to be like, I think they could get to 97, 98, 99. I don't think it's going to be an above 100 offense. I think there's going to be too many spots that are still. Yeah, for years we've been trying to even get 5 guys to have 100 or better in the lineup. Like that just has not been something they've been able to get to. I spent years pining for just average. That's not what they've been able to do, unfortunately.
That is not. I agree. They will come up just a little bit short, but we both agree
we're agreeing too much
next year. Yeah, well, that's nothing new here. All right, coming up 151. Remember that number. We'll talk about why that's significant. We got more predictions on the offense, some fun predictions for acquisitions or trades, pitching, and where the Guardians are actually going to finish this year. All coming up. Opening day is just around the corner, the home opener for the Guardians. That is, if you have not bought tickets yet, I don't know that you're going to find them, but if you're going to find them, any tickets like that, or maybe you want to go to a Cavs playoff game, maybe you want to see a comedian come into town. I know, I think Tom Segura's coming to Cleveland. He's pretty popular. Concerts, almost concert season, at least for the outdoor people. If you like to go to concerts outdoors, all that stuff you can get on GameTime. I've used GameTime for pretty much all my last minute buying experiences. I even did it up front too. I bought tickets to the Cavs game back in February, or actually early March for the Kelsey Brothers bobblehead game. That was a hot ticket to get to. You can save up to 60% off buying of last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, and theater, and all in pricing. If you are one of those people who hates going to a ticket app and you're buying a $25 ticket and all of a sudden you get to the checkout and it's like 80 or $100 and you're like, where did that come from? Not going to happen with GameTime. You get the all-in pricing, so you know the total up front, no surprise fees at checkout. GameTime takes the guesswork out of buying. For a limited time, all users can get $20 off any MLB purchase of $150 or more in the GameTime app with the code FIRSTPITCH. Terms apply. That's code FIRSTPITCH, all capital. That's FIRSTPITCH for $20 off from March 25th to April 14th only. Download the GameTime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. I'm probably going to do that with some baseball tickets soon. All right, 151.
That was the favorite adult juice in college, right? That's
151. No. Yeah, that's the adult beverage of choice in college. Whew. Guardians stole 151 bases last year, and we were kind of digging into some of this data. So technically, the Guardians finished top 5 in steals last year, but we noticed that they had a lull in May and June, is what we determined. They were good in April.
Yeah, they were really bad. And it was
weird.
Off a
cliff. They were like bottom 5. So they still managed to finish top 5 last year. I know we talked about, well, it's hard to steal first base if you don't get on base, which is why, Miles Straw is no longer.
But they were 8th in baseball in on base percentage in the month of June. So it's like.
Yeah. And they picked back up. That's true. So over under 151 steals, because let's be honest, this team, if you go back to 2022, the reason that offense was so successful is because they were running like crazy. But they only had 119 steals in 2022, which is surprising. So they still stole more bases in 2023. I think we were all just expecting a lot more. The Reds stole 190. The Diamondbacks stole 166. The Royals stole 163. But that's pretty much all Bobby Witt. So will the Guardians steal more than 151 bags this year? They were one of the top 5 stealing teams in spring training, for whatever that's worth.
No. I'm going under. I don't think they have as much speed as they had a year ago. I think they're diversifying their investments a little bit more in terms of guys who aren't necessarily speed players. And then there's just, aging. Like at some point, Jose was never a burner. It's more his smarts that have allowed him to get out there and do it. But like he's at some point, they might even want him to run less just to preserve as he gets into his 30s. I think I just don't see a lot of guys who I think are plus runners on the team relative to where they are. So I think it'll be lower.
Yeah, I agree. It's hard to do that. I mean, we hope Bo Naylor runs a little more, but also they're going to be careful with him because of the catching rigors,
Mm-hmm.
things like that. Yeah, Jose may not want to run as much. You still have Jimenez who runs quite a bit. Quan will be fine. Laureano's not a bad runner. We hope guys like Freeman, Brennan, and Rocchio run a little bit more. If Florial ever gets on base, he's got speed. So I think they'll be close. I still think they can be top 5, but I don't know if it depends on how much everybody else runs. But I'll say under as well. But let's hope that means they're hitting more home runs. Speaking of home runs, 16 homers by the Guardians outfield last year. Seems pretty easy. Over under on 16 homers for the Guardians in 2024.
Just so we can
You take
disagree.
the under, I'm just done. Oh,
just so we can disagree, I'll take the under.
Oh man.
No, I mean Laureano alone in a full season should get to like 11 or 12. Quan should get
He's
to like
projected to hit 17 on his own.
Is he? Quan should get to like 2.5. I mean, you got rid of Miles Straw, you're lucky if you get one in a year. And when you got Quan and Straw, you're lucky if those two combine for 5 total home runs, right? Like that's essentially what those two guys you're hoping to get. So you're moving on from one. Freeman has good EVs, but not great launch angles. I think he is a single-digit home run guy, at least for now. There's always a chance for changes later. But Florio, you brought in for power. Laureano has had some ups and downs with his power. They should get there. But having said that, I'm going to say under just so we can finally disagree on something.
I'll go even one step further. Not only will the Guardians hit more than 16 home runs as an outfield this year, they're going to do it before the All-Star break. That's how confident I am they're going to hit more than 16 home runs as an outfield. They will have 2 guys who at least hit 8 in the outfield or combined for whatever. So, yeah. These guys are not outfielders, but I thought this was fun. How many home runs can the Naylor brothers hit this year? Because, I mean, let's be honest. Raw power-wise, Josh and Bo probably both can hit 30. If you're just talking raw power, that's what they're capable of.
I feel like Josh
they're capable of at least 50.
We'll disagree with this because, like, I like Josh's raw, but it never seems to quite translate fully into game because of his approach, which is great. Like his approach just leads to more on base, which is I'm not going to argue with his approach, but I think combined home runs is like 37.
I'll say 40 just to be different. I'll say 40. I think they can hit 40, maybe even 45. They feel pretty good. All right, well, let's keep rolling with the offense. We got a lot more questions to get to today. The Guardians, as we know, finished in last place in homers a year ago. Will they finish last again?
Yes.
Ooh, that hurts.
I mean, they're going to improve, but it was a pretty big. I mean, at least I felt like it was a pretty big gap. I mean, they had 124. The Washington Nationals had 151, and they have some bigger signs of improvement. It's like they have to make up 27 home runs. Did they do enough this offseason while those other teams are improving to make up 27 home runs? I don't think so.
Yeah, that's the thing is that I think they can hit more home runs than a year ago. But if you're looking at all these teams, like Oakland out-homered them a year ago, they still have a lot of young players.
And they added JD Davis.
Yeah.
On top of what
Detroit's got an improving offense. The Royals added some interest. I mean, Hunter Renfroe, we don't really love the Royals additions, but yeah,
but he'll be
the
more
Rockies
power.
are still the Rockies. The Pirates are getting better. The Nationals at some point might promote Dylan Cruz and James Wood to the outfield. It's like they're going to hit more home runs.
CJ Abrams gonna showed improvement. They've got some young players.
Yeah.
If
the White Sox trade Luis Robert and Eloy Jimenez at some point, I can see
Juan
them slipping to the bottom.
They could.
Yeah,
like
if he's worth anything.
If they do a full rebuild, maybe. But
I can see that. But yeah, I still think the Guardians finished last in homers, but I think they'll improve. Well, it just depends on what the offense across the league looks like. This should be an easy question. But last year, Jeff, the Diamondbacks hit 166 homers as a team. The Brewers hit 165. So I guess I should have phrased this question differently. The Cubs hit 196. So they were 15th. They were middle of the pack in baseball when it comes to home runs. I think we could both agree the Guardians are not hitting 196 home runs this year. That was the 15th team in baseball. 15th.
That would
middle of the pack.
That would require them hitting 72 more home runs this year, which divided by 9, that is 8 more home runs per player.
That's not happening. Yeah. Okay, 165 is how many the Brewers need to make the playoffs last year. Let's say 165. Can they hit 165?
No. I don't see them adding 41 home runs. That's a lot of home runs.
It is.
I
is.
know,
All right,
like, because it's like, okay, let's say Freeman's your full-time center fielder. Strada Freeman is probably
he's
still only a
not hitting
difference.
20, yeah.
It's like 7, max 7, 8.
Maybe 10, yeah.
It's not as much. Laureano versus Brennan, yeah, that could be. That's probably your biggest jump, but the rest of the infield's kind of the same. Gabby Arias isn't a starting shortstop. It's
trades, debuts, pitching, awards, season finish, all coming up on our preview episode for 2024 on Locked On Guardians.
And let's talk about our good friends over at PrizePicks. I've talked about what I think is fun about PrizePicks is that when you look at, they are the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. And what's nice about it is it's you against the numbers. You look at, I always remember there was that Jeopardy champion, James, something or other, who I'm blanking on. But that dude, his day job was sports gambling and doing things like daily fantasy. I remember watching a documentary on it. It's like the people who are making money off of most of those other sites are, advanced mathematicians. PrizePicks is not for advanced mathematicians. It's as simple as more or less than 26 stat categories. It is just you versus the numbers. It's not you versus a math genius. It's just you versus the numbers. So check it out for yourself. Remember, it's just as simple as more or less in 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Download the app or use the website and use the code LOCKEDONMLB, all one word, for first deposit match up to $100. That's LOCKEDONMLB, all lowercase, all one word. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
All right, kind of a tough question here. This is going to be convoluted, so let's be quick. But can the Guardians, we're talking about Shane Bieber rumors. I'm going to talk about a little more predictions with him in a second. But can the Guardians afford to trade Shane Bieber, and still contend for the division? Can they pull off a Trevor Bauer / Mike Clevenger type trade where they trade Bieber and they are still in the division race? I know people are going to say, well, they were last year when they did it with Savali. Different scenario there.
They were paper tiger a year ago.
This was clearly a team on the fringe last year that was hanging on and was not a serious contender with Savali, either way. So is there a scenario where the Guardians can contend for a division title and trade Shane Bieber in the same way they did Bauer and Clevenger? Okay.
100%. I mean, if
other pitchers to step up.
We've heard them talk about Cantillo. If Cantillo can step up, if everyone else stays healthy, and if this is one of those things where they find, the one thing I'll say is, like, it's going to be hard to thread the needle and trade him for hitting for now. It's going to be really hard to get someone who can help you now is a bat. You're probably getting someone who helps you next year as a bat, even then.
Agreed. I think there is a way they can do it, but it's going to be tricky. I'm not really sure I believe that they'll actually do it, but I do think there's a scenario where it works out. On that note, on July 31st, the MLB trading deadline is July 30th this year, which is very strange. So on July 31st, Shane Bieber will be pitching for who?
I have no idea. The Columbus Clippers.
Ouch. Ooh, on a rehab start? Not great.
No, I have no idea.
Hanging out with Miles Straw.
It's at this point in time, like, if I'm trying to project like who is going to still be in it, part of me thinks that it's the Rays, right? Like, they already had a framework in place and then he got hurt. So I'll say the Rays, because
who can you trade from them? Junior Caminero coming home.
It's the Rays. There's always pieces. There's always players. They still have a really good minor. So I guess if I'm going to make a guess, it's the Rays, because there was some framework involving Kyle Manzardo that fell apart. So they've had those discussions. If it's not the Rays, the easy one would be the Padres, right? Like, that is the team that they have a long history. So I guess I'm changing my answer. I'm going with the Padres. That's like the classic one where maybe they can, get who knows what. I'm not going to even try to guess that right now.
I'm going to say it will be the Guardians. I'm going to be optimistic and say he will be pitching for the Guardians. He will not get traded at the trade deadline. They will just go ahead and recoup the draft pick at the end of the year. Speaking of draft picks, don't be boring, Jeff. Will Chase DeLauter make his MLB debut this year? And if so, what day?
So if they are flipping Bieber, which is what I've stated, then he won't debut this year. Because they're going
to be out of it. They're not going to want to start his clock.
Yep. And they still, and here's the other thing, like, honestly, again, what our great everydayers are saying in the comments, like, we kind of have to see what we have. Like, a lot of people hate on Arias. Again, the dude was great against right-handed bats. And again, I talked about a statistic called the Seager that I was reading about. That's fantastic. The highest Seager rating on this team, the player closest to Corey Seager in terms of pitch selectiveness and not letting, good, swing, not letting being too passive was Gabby Arias. There's a lot of positive things around Gabby Arias. You got to see what he can do. Will Brennan was the opposite end of the Seeker, but there's a year ago at this time, you and I both thought he was a no doubter. You have to see what he do. You have to see. There's a lot of guys they need to see what they can do. And that's also someone like Manzardo. And if Valera gets healthy, that's him. And there's a world where they maybe want to give Noel a shot because, again, options. He's out of them. He is the opposite of Ben Lively. He is out of options.
He's actually not the opposite of Ben Lively, but okay. I think Chase DeLauter will be a September call-up, only to they're not going to exhaust his rookie status this year because there is that cutoff date where you can bring a player up in September and he won't accrue enough time to exhaust his rookie status, and that'll keep him a rookie for next year, give him a head start on next year, whether or not they're in the race. But I think the guys in front of them won't establish themselves. I think he's going to hit, and I think that he's just going to move himself ahead of the pack, truthfully. So September call-up for me. Manzardo, we talked about this the other day, honestly. I think we're looking at a Memorial Day call-up, maybe a little bit later. I think we both agreed with that.
Yeah.
Okay, so Manzardo, we think he'll make his debut this year at some point. He is not on the 40-man roster, so that'd be cheating. Give me one non-40-man player to make their debut in 2024.
Should we go with one of the toast to camp and say Daniel Schneemann? Like, if they need someone who can come up and be a utility guy.
I don't think they need him, though. That's the thing. Like, I understand the guys like earn a cup of coffee, whatever. Funny enough, his dad says he doesn't drink coffee, so
did he go to BYU? Isn't that something you're not allowed to do? I believe at BYU you can't imbibe in the caffeine. So that explains that. But yeah, I think I don't know. Like, I feel like at some point he's going to. If they really do like him, you're going to have to add him to the 40-man because he's a minor league free agent at the end of the year. So I don't know if he's that guy they do that with or not. But if they like him, then, hey, I mean, he might be the September call-up for depth. I don't see a catcher.
Over Tana, over Angel. Yeah, hard to believe. I'm going to say the easy one is Franco Aleman. Honestly, that's the easiest one. Franco Aleman is definitely going to be up this year because he has to be on the 40 later.
I mean, Andrew Walters would be my spicy prediction.
Easy one too. Guardians finished last season, despite all their pitching injuries, they finished top 10 in ERA for the entire pitching staff. So Guardians will finish top 10 this year in team ERA once again. Yes or no?
Yeah.
This is starters and relievers. Okay, I agree.
They did it last year. It's like they should be better this year with health. Yeah. They didn't really get rid of a ton. It's just like it's the injury issue that you could derail this.
Yeah. I bit off more than we can chew with some of these topics today. How many starting pitchers will the Guardians need this year to get through the season? I'm going to say 8. I'm going to say 9. I'm going to say 9.
I was going to say 11.
9 starters.
10 and 11 were my first guesses, but I'm going to say there's going to be some like rain delay and things like that. Some random parts where they're going to need some spots. I'm going to go 11.
This was the hard one last year. They blew 32 saves as a team. Now, some of that is blowing a lead in the 8th inning, not necessarily class A. So as a team, they blew 32 saves. They were the worst in baseball at this, which cost them a lot of games. So under or over 32 blown saves in 2024 for the Guardians.
I'm going to say under because a lot of that was some weird luck. We talked about that at points. It's going to be almost hard to do another 32.
I would have to agree. How many All-Stars will the Guardians have this year, Jeff?
1.
Just Jose? Jose made it a year ago. He didn't pitch, but he was
I mean, I guess
I'm going to say 3.
Maybe I'll go 2. The problem is always in Cleveland, like they get overlooked. Like this isn't necessarily a shot. I can already see people getting mad that I'm being too negative with everything, but it's like I think that in this particular category, it's not about negativity. It's just I feel like Cleveland gets overlooked. Like that's just the way of it, unfortunately.
Yeah. All right. I think they're going to 3. It's going to be Jose, Clase, and a starting pitcher. I don't know which starting pitcher, but we'll see.
I know who it is in your heart. I know who it is in your heart.
We all know who it is. Where does Jose Ramirez finish in the MVP voting? I'm going to say he finishes top 3 again. It was top 10 last year. I think he gets in their top 3 finish.
I'm going to say 9th.
No Shohei. No Shohei in the AL. Might not even be playing baseball in the second half for all we know at this point.
Like I said, I don't think you and I, this is an area where you and I disagree. I don't think I think what he was last year is kind of what he is to varying degrees over the next few years. I don't expect a huge bounce back year. So I think like 9th, 10th, low down the line, especially if this team disappoints. I think this team has a chance to contend for this division. I don't want everyone to get mad at me. So
yeah. All right. Real quickly before we get out of here, let's scrap this one actually, because we've got a lot to do. Rank these finishes in order of most likelihood. So instead of saying, I think the Guardians will win the division, let's rank the likelihood of this. So are the Guardians more likely to win 90 games, lose 90 games, win the division, win a wild card, or finish in last place? So give me your order winner of those. Is there most likely?
Yes. Wild card's going to be hard. Last place. Have you looked at this division? 90 wins. I don't even think you need 90 wins to win the division, and they're not going to lose 90 games. They're better than they were a year ago,
and they won't finish in last place, despite what some people think. I think there's no chance they finish in last place. The White Sox are awful.
Yes.
And my range of outcomes for this team right now is 75 to 85 wins. That's where I'm at. Instead of saying how many games they're going to win, I think they're going to win between 75 and 85. And 75 to me, there puts them in second, maybe third again. But I think it's more likely that if they win 85, they win the division. I could see them squeaking into a wild card, maybe the third spot, but it's going to be hard.
I don't see it.
I think there's more chance of them. I think there's more chance of them finishing. Yeah, 90 wins, and I could see them winning 90 games more than 90 losses. But those are the last 2 on my list. More likely they can win a wild card than win 90 games, but it's going to be hard to win a wild card without winning 90 games. So I don't know. All right. Last up, Jeff, real quick. Who you got in the World Series? I'll tell you mine. I have Atlanta over the Orioles. That's my World Series.
Yeah, the team of the offseason never makes it. I'm gonna say
they can trade for more though. They got the farm system depth, and the Braves. The Braves are still very deep.
I don't know. The team of the offseason is the Dodgers. I'm gonna say the Diamondbacks get back. I do like what they've done, so I'm gonna
Jordan Montgomery.
Yeah, I'm gonna go a little crazy and say Diamondbacks over the Orioles. I think the Orioles are gonna go a little all in this year. I'm gonna say Orioles over Diamondbacks. Let me go that way.
Yeah. Orioles over Diamondbacks. Okay, we both have the Orioles in the World Series. That's fun. All right. Unfortunately, not the Guardians, but who knows? We've been wrong before. Next time we talk to you, next time we talk to you, the Guardians will have played their first game. We'll have that covered for you. We'll get to a second base position preview at some point, and we'll talk about the weekend series in Oakland. It is time for baseball. Let's go!
Thank you for watching, rating, and reviewing. It's been a long time since you had an iTunes review, so I'd appreciate it if one of you jumped into it. Thank you to all of our everydayers like John, and go Guardians, go!